You suck at Yu-Gi-Oh! That's right, I said it. Now before I drop up some gems, I'm gonna tell you a quick backstory. I used to be really bad at Yu-Gi-Oh! For 3 whole years in the 2010 period to 2013, I went to local after local, duel after duel, event after event, and I won nothing. The best I ever did at locals or any event was 2-2. And now, today, when I go to locals, I'm able to consistently top against some of the best players in the region. So what's changed? Today, I'm gonna give you guys 5 tips and or tricks you can use to your advantage. And if you're already using these tips and tricks, congratulations. You're already a good Yu-Gi-Oh player, I'm assuming. But if not, then I guarantee you, 100% guarantee that if you use these tricks, you will get a lot better at the game. Let's get to it. Number 1. Knowing how your opponent's decks work. This is so important. A lot of people, surprisingly, don't do this. A lot of people are like, well, the top decks right now are Virtual Road and Dryton. I don't quite know how to beat them, but it's okay. I mean, if I play against them at locals, I'll just lose. But if not, then I can probably beat Rogue. That's just not the right way to look at it. For a couple reasons. 1, if you know how your opponent's deck works, then you know how to beat that deck. And secondly, you know how to maneuver your deck, your own deck, to play around that specific opponent's deck. If you're playing your deck exactly the same way against every opponent, you're probably doing it wrong. So please take this tip. A good example is, if you play against Prank Kids, what you want to first do is, when they summon their Meow Mew with the Link 1, and they activate the graveyard effect to get the search or the special summon, you interrupt it with Ash or Gamma. Because 9 times out of 10, if they do not have an extender, their play ends there. Now, if you didn't know how Prank Kids work, you might be like, I just kind of want to hold on to this Ash, or I kind of want to hold on to this Gamma for future play. But usually, that's how you beat that deck. You know, the number 1 tip people are missing out on for being a better duelist, you know what it is subscribing to AkemiTCG. My whole goal of this channel is A, to have fun with this game, and B, to help you, yes you, I'm looking at you, become a better duelist. So what are you waiting for? Just do it. Number 2. Have you ever said any of these things?
Oh man, I only lost because he's playing meta. Darn, he just has better cards than me, and that's why he won.
Although these things may or may not be true, you are kind of reinforcing these certain things. Number 1, you do not believe that you can beat the meta. And number 2, you don't believe that by playing a rogue strategy or playing with cheaper cards that you can beat your opponent. And by reinforcing these thoughts, you're gonna lose. You are 9 times out of 10 going to lose unless your opponent brick really badly, because your mind is already set to lose against that particular deck, against that particular card, for example, Forbidden Droplets or 3 Tactical Talents. You're already programming yourself, you're setting yourself up to lose. So, this 1 tip will fix these beliefs. Analyze your mistakes. Instead of saying those 4 mentioned excuses, you want to say, oh, let me look back at my previous duel. Let me see how I could have done better. What play did I make? What critical play did I make that caused me to lose the duel? Because oftentimes, there is some sort of misplay when you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Could be a very small misplay like, oh, I put this card in attack mode, that's why I got wrecked by Lightning Storm, I should probably think about that next time. Or I set too many traps at once, so then when he Harpy's Feather Dusted me, I just lost. Those small little mistakes, they do add up. And when you analyze those mistakes, and you learn to be like, oh, maybe I'll do better next time, or I'll try to do better next time, keep doing that. Just keep doing it. And I guarantee you, over time, you'll just get better and better and better. Number 3, stop shotgunning your hand traps, your quick effects. Stop using them immediately. I know so many people that do this. I'm like, oh, I normal summon, let's say Stratos, and you're like, Ash, immediately. That could hurt the opponent, but they have 4 or 5 more cards in their hand. And I know, trust me, I know I get excited when I open my Ash, I open my Imperm, open my Ghost Spell or DD Crow. But think about why exactly you're ashing or you're hitting this certain card. Does ashing this card end my opponent's turn or ends their plays? If yes, do it. If no, probably should, roll it back a bit. Think about whether or not it's going to hurt the play or not, and then roll with it. Number 4, resource counting. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this on like a beginner level. This is something like more like seasoned duels tend to do. They're like, oh, how many cards in your graveyard? They don't actually ask that usually, but how many cards in your hand? Can I see your graveyard? Even though they don't have like Monster Reborn or something that interacts with the graveyard. So why do we do this? The reason why we do this is if you have 5 cards in hand versus if you have 1 card in hand, I'm more likely to make the informed decision to be like, oh, you normal summon that last card in your hand, you have no cards in your hand, I'm going to hand trap you, I'm going to ash you, and I'm going to ghost ogre you, I'm going to ghost spell you. Whereas if you have 5 cards in hand, I'm like, you summon a monster, and I'm like, do I hit that? And if you hit that, you're more likely to run into some complication. Because if they have 5 cards in the hand still, they're more likely to keep going with that 5 cards, especially knowing how Yu-Gi-Oh decks work nowadays. So keep an eye on that, and also keep an eye on your opponent's graveyard. One cool tip I like to use is if there's 2 of a specific card in their graveyard that you're concerned about, that they might have in their hand, and they have 2 of them in the graveyard, they're most likely not going to have the 3rd one in their hand. So you should most likely be safe. Obviously, this isn't always the case, but just having that knowledge that like, oh, there's 2 cards in the graveyard with the same name, I don't think he's going to have the 3rd one in his hand. So you can make more informed decisions that way. And also, especially, obviously, if they have 3 of a specific card in the graveyard, then you can be like, whatever. Last but not least, out of every single tip I've given today, this is the most important tip. If you take away anything from this video, it has to be this one. Be in the correct mental headspace. What do I mean? Yu-Gi-Oh is a mental game. It's a big mind game, not between just you and your opponent and reading their body language and reading, oh, if they're doing X, Y, and Z play, then do I counter it this way? Or you search for this card. What other card may you have in your hand? It's not just that, but you're mind gaming yourself. You're playing yourself. Let's say you go into locals, or just think about that one guy at locals that's like,
oh man, I always lose, or oh, I'm just gonna play for fun, I don't think I'm trying to win.
By going into locals with that mindset, you're already setting yourself up to lose. You're setting yourself up to go to locals and be like, wow, I'm not gonna win, I'm not gonna top. And if you really want to be serious about this game, if you really be a better duelist, if you really want that, you can't think like that. You cannot think like that. Because let's say you set yourself up for failure, you start making worse plays because you're like, well, I'm not supposed to be topping, so I'm just gonna make the suboptimal play, or I'm just gonna start making plays that just don't make sense. I know you're not vocally saying that, oh man, I don't deserve to top the locals, but by just even thinking that you're not gonna win or you're gonna top, it's just kind of like a predetermined fate almost. I know this sounds ludicrous, right? I know it sounds a little bit ludicrous, but next time you go to locals, try being in a positive mindset. Try being like, oh, I'm gonna beat all these players, I'm gonna beat all these meta decks, and I'm gonna have a blast, and I am gonna do my best to win. Just repeat that in your head, okay? Because by doing that, you're gonna make better and better plays as well. So the next question is, how do you get to this mindset? How do you get to this positivity mindset where you're like, oh, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna steamroll the competition, it's gonna be easy peasy? It's actually very simple. You just have to play more. Either play more or watch a whole bunch of videos, maybe on mst.tv or the DB Grinder, on how to beat these meta decks, on how to play around the current decks that are in the format. Just watch and learn, because the more you learn, you're gonna be like, oh, I realized that, oh, Virtual World, they always end on, VFD or Croco, right? Learn how to play around it, learn how to play decks or cards that counter certain decks, and learn to incorporate them in your deck. Remember, there's literally nothing wrong with looking at a deck that somebody used to win a large competition at and being like, oh, I want to copy certain parts of the deck, or I just want to copy the deck as a whole. Because those players that have gone to the top, that have won, they have tried and true. They have won the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds to get to their position. So why would you not want to at least try what they're using? Try to see what the top players are doing right, because there's a reason why they're at the top. And also, one more thing, you have to understand, and this is actually really important too, that you can't beat yourself up over losing a lot of games. Just remember, you could be playing the best deck in the world, but some days you just get bad hands or your opponent just has godly hands. It happens, it's a card game. You understand those two things? That I play this game a lot and I'm okay with losing, then you're gonna have a very confident mindset. You're gonna have that positive mindset that'll push you to win more and more games and make better and better plays. Anyways, my name is AkemiTCG. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure to drop a like, comment, subscribe if you liked it. And I'm praying, man, that this helps at least one of you. If I help a single person out there with this video, I will be satisfied. So just let me know down below. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
The world ends now.